welcome to A Cat in the Garden. Today I want to talk to you all about 5 plants, that are a bit underwhelming to me now that I've had them in my collection for a while. Some of them I've had in my collection for years and they're not doing it. So we're gonna go ahead and just get right into it. The first plant that is a bit underwhelming to me is going to be one that makes me really sad to be underwhelming. Excuse you, sir. And that is my Mutant Manjula. So this is an Epipremnum, a pothos, and I paid quite a bit of money for this plant. It's a little bit embarrassing how much I paid. And I was told that they pretty well often go all white and to put them in as dark of lighting as possible, basically. I feel like I'm not adequately giving this enough light, but it is working. I am getting some green back on the leaves, but unfortunately, because there's so much white on the leaves of this plant, they're all just melting and turning brown. And it's really unfortunate. I think the only way that I could really prevent that for the most part is to just keep it in super high humidity, but also in a very dark place, which I don't have in my house. I live in Texas. It's just not a thing that I can do. So kind of stuck with it right now. I basically got this as a bunch of potted up cuttings, just shoved into a 6-inch pot. And I've really just been waiting for it to grow out so that hopefully I can propagate it. Here's a nice leaf, at least. It's the newest one on this branch, but it looks nice. So at least we have that, but yeah, pretty disappointing. Especially, I mean, if I hadn't spent a lot of money on it, it would have been like, whatever, okay, sure, but yeah, it's just been a bit of a letdown. I am going to try propagating it once it starts to trail a bit, even though there's really no green on the stems. They do put out green on the leaves a little bit. I don't really know exactly how that's working, but I'm gonna try because I would really love to have one that's prettier. I hope that I can get it to a point where maybe it doesn't have to have the highest humidity to look okay. It would be really sad if it just lived in a prop box its entire life. I don't really want to do that to it, but at this point it's looking like I'm gonna have to find a different solution because this is super ugly. So that's my Mutant Manjula. The next plant is one that I'm really trying to like. I really want to like this plant, but so far it has been a bit of a pain, and that is going to be the Philodendron Summer Glory. And it's not like a complete pain, it's just not everything that I think it was advertised to be. When this first came out on the market last year, I think it was last summer, because I've had it for almost a year now. I think I got it in August of last year. When it came out in June or July, this thing was so expensive. One this size would have gone for about $300. It was kind of crazy. And this one's grown a lot since I got it. I waited quite a while, like 2 months after it came out, I want to say. And so I was able to get this for $33, and it was a bit smaller than this, which I think is fine. That is, I think, a fair price to pay for a new hybrid, a specialty house plant, whatever you want to call it. I consider that to be fair. So I didn't mind paying for it. I do really like the emergent color of the leaves. I do wish it stayed longer. I'm not a fan of this leaf to petiole ratio. If you look at it from the back, we have these really long petioles to a not super big leaf. It's getting better as the leaves are sizing up. And that is the reason why I'm holding out on this plant right now, is because I've seen pictures of it mature. I've seen it in person mature. You guys would have seen it if you watched my video shopping at Tillery Street Plant Company in Austin. They sell really big mature ones and those look gorgeous. They have a much better leaf to petiole ratio. So that is the only reason why I'm holding out. It has been growing relatively quickly and relatively easily, which is nice. So it's still kind of undecided the final verdict of this plant. I do need to uppot it because it is a little bit root bound right now, so I think that might help it as well. But it's just been so far really underwhelming. I wouldn't recommend buying it as a small plant. I honestly would just go spend the money, spend $60 to $80 on a large one, and they're so much prettier, and you don't have to deal with this awkward teenage philodendron look on your plants. Speaking of awkward teenage philodendron, the next two that I'm going to show you, I'm going to kind of lump together. The first one is the Philodendron Silver Sword and the Philodendron Pink Princess. So this is one of 3 pink princesses that I have, all from the same mother plant. And then this was my mother plant of my silver sword. I had to chop it up after I moved here. But as you can see, this is the one thing I hate the most, is how they just get stuck and they don't grow properly. If you don't catch it in time, they end up looking like this, or the entire leaf breaks off, whatever. And I'm having such a difficult time getting them to size up. This was a top cutting that I took, like I said. This was one of the leaves when I took the cutting. And as you can see, it's just not getting bigger. I've had them on stakes. I've had them on cocoa coir poles. I've had no support. I've done just about everything except for a moss pole, which to me seems weird to do a moss pole for this, but maybe I do need to try it. I just think with the way that prices are now, I can go spend $50 to $75, get a huge, beautiful silver sword. So why would I even mess with this at this point? I mean, I bought this 2.5 to 3 years ago now, and back then it was expensive. Now that they're so common, it just doesn't really seem worth it. And with the pink princess, it's the same problem. I mean, I have a little stuck leaf in there right now, but I'm honestly tired of dealing with it, so I don't really care for my pink princesses that well anymore. And it's a shame. It's really sad, because when they have the beautiful variegation, it's really nice, but they're very thirsty. They also get sunburnt super easily, so I can't even really have them in my Millsbow, which has the better lighting, because they're gonna get sunburnt. And so I am gonna have to put them out here in my regular household humidity, which will lead to more stuck leaves. So it just seems to be a never-ending cycle of a plant that's kind of a pain in the butt, when again, I could maybe spend $100 to $150 for the pink princess, and I could just go buy a big, beautiful one that isn't going to have as many of these issues. You'll probably get an occasional stuck leaf with a big one, but it's going to tolerate lower humidity. It's going to do better with different lighting because it's a more mature plant, and it's going to be prettier. It just is. These juvenile philodendron, the leaves all look the same at the end of the day, except for obviously the pink variegation on this one. So to me, it's just not worth it anymore with these two. I'm probably going to get rid of them at some point in the near future, because it's just kind of been a pain, and I want to make room for getting more mature philodendrons or plants that just aren't going to do this to me anymore. The 5th and final plant that has been a bit underwhelming for me in my collection is one that I've only had for a little bit over a year, but I think in that time and seeing what other people online have said about owning this plant for over a year as well, it's kind of become a general consensus, and that's going to be the Epipremnum Panatum Baltic Blue. And it's really nice and full. I didn't realize that until I got it off the shelf, but the way this plant was advertised when it came out with Costa Farms was that it was going to have more mature leaves that fenestrate more easily. And when I bought it, it had a bunch of these cute little fenestrated leaves, which is great. It's really nice, but unfortunately, I thought, given that, I could maybe let it trail. If I bought one that had a lot of nice, big, mature leaves, I could maybe just let it trail and it would look really pretty. Unfortunately, the leaves have started to become smaller. This plant has been very thirsty in my experience, and it's just not I mean, I don't want, if I'm gonna have leaves that just look like this, I might as well just have a Cebu blue because it looks like a dark Cebu blue at the end of the day. So maybe I could start it over, put it on a pole, and it would look better, but that seems like a lot of work right now. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't hate it. I do like it. I do think it is a pretty plant. I do love the dark blue coloration. I do love the mature fenestrated leaves. I think they're beautiful. Just kind of advertising it as a trailing plant, kind of like Costa Farms does with the trending tropicals. It doesn't really live up to the hype for me. There was so much hype around this plant. Everyone was scouring stores for them. I remember when I found them, I actually had to buy a second one and ship it to somebody who couldn't find them yet. Now they're everywhere. The hype has died down. You're still buying them for $20, which is a pretty good price for a houseplant. It's just not this crazy, amazing super plant that everybody thought it was when it was first popular, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. If you do want a nice, little bit thirsty, generally easygoing houseplant, I will say, I mean, the leaves getting smaller isn't super dramatic. It's a decent size still, given how long this vine is. I just really thought it would hold on to the mature leaves longer, so that's a little bit disappointing for me. But it's, at the end of the day, it's really not the end of the world with this plant. It's just a little bit underwhelming. So that's gonna be it for this video today. Let me know if you agree with me about the plants that I chose as a little bit underwhelming in my collection, or let me know if you disagree too. I wanna know what you think. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give us a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything else from me, Nutmeg, and Luna. Thanks so much again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.